I feel like being a little bit ornery before getting to the books, because I'm just in one of those moods at this point in time. So, there was a few different situations where I had some individuals that I had met after being in Austin, as well as after returning back to San Antonio. Now, in reference to one particular group of individuals that I had met in San Antonio, there was this one female. She had been arrested for stealing garden gnomes. She said she wanted to free the gnomes from people's yards. And I was like, really? So people purchased statuary and you felt the need to take it from them and you didn't have the right to? She was like, yes, I was freeing the gnomes. And I'm like, And you're proud that you got arrested for stealing garden gnomes? I don't know, Erica, also known as Discordia. I don't know, that seems kind of dumb. Well, one day, her boyfriend named Brian, or fiance, whatever, he was a San Antonio police officer. And, no, I'm sorry, he was a Air Force guy. My mistake, I can talk about that one in a minute. Anyway, so Erica Scoria tells me at one point in time that she had been testing my head injury stuff because she knew someone many years ago, and she was mad and throwing a temper tantrum because her friend didn't remember her after the coma and all this sort of stuff. And then she looked at me as competition in the lifestyle, and I was like, yeah, no, I don't do that. Like, I don't look at others to compete. And she like did this whole weirdness thing, and I was like, okay, well, I don't have patience for that. And like with what I'm dealing with, like with what I'm dealing with as far as like my daughter, my son, making sure that like both, like all that stuff, because of like the Fort Worth Zoo issue, because of Carrollton Farmers Branch Independent School District, specifically McCoy Elementary School, I don't have the patience for that sort of stuff. Like, I got a whole bunch of stuff that I'm dealing with, and I don't look at you like that, like at all. Then she got offended some more, and she was like, so are you saying you don't view me as like worthy competition? And I was like, no, I just don't view the lifestyle as a competition. Like, I just don't. Well, her boyfriend, fiance, whatever he was, he went in the garage where everybody was smoking, because it was Alicia, her submissive, as well as Lisa and her husband, a lawyer, former lawyer. He did some former work in something else, I can't remember what, but anyway. Brian had said something along the lines of, what was it? So I'm gonna leave the hens in the hen house and go inside. And when everybody else said, sorry, I went quack. I wasn't being sarcastic either. It was just the first thing that came to my head at the time. I was just like, quack. And Brian stopped and turned around and he looks at me and he goes, what did you just say? I was like, quack! He looks at me and says, do you understand the sounds that chickens make? And I was like, oh, you said chickens. Oh, I was thinking like the little baby chicks for a duck. Say quack. Quack, quack, quack. My children, meaning my son and daughter, thought that was hilarious. Both of them were just like, oh my God. Okay. Well, it's funny because, you know, of a few reasons, but especially certain aspects of how I knew those individuals. Just not being mean, just one of those, like, you know, whatever. Anyway, so, now that I look back at this point in time, Brian, the Air Force guy, kind of looked like this guy named Brian that I met through my ex-girlfriend, Pam. And we were at a Jim's restaurant in San Antonio at Marbach and 410. And Brian, who was in a San Antonio police officer uniform at the time, it's back in like whatever year Hurricane Katrina was, he went and he put his handcuffs, like the police issued handcuffs, on my wrists because I was doing something at the time where my hands were, I think I had something in I think I was holding a cup of coffee or something, and he put the handcuffs on me and I started like losing it because like, get them off me. And then after he gets them off me, he looks at me and he goes, you need to get evaluated. And I look at him, I'm like, you're in a police officer uniform. I didn't do anything wrong. And you put handcuffs on me illegally. And then you have the nerve to tell me that I need to calm down? Now, mind you, this was like less than 5 months from the time that I had gone to Excalibur Fair, apparently the last year it was running. And when I was at the Excalibur Fair, I had never gone to a Renaissance festival before. I got a gown and all that sort of stuff. It had a corset bodice with a high empress collar and then a square cut. And it was this royal blue with embroidery. And then it had the dress coat thing that like poofied out and like poofy. And so got crinoline to go under it and the whole thing. Well, the people that I went with, when I pulled out my clothes and started getting dressed, John and Christy, the brother and sister, had no problems with what I pulled out and put on. Dawn, on the other hand, I met all of them in the pagan community, but I met John through Dawn because Christy was the only one who sometimes attended pagan night out in San Antonio. Was like, ugh, nobility. And I was like, what? Oh, well, yeah, it's whatever. This is what I got. And so she looks at me and she goes, what is your name going to be at this? And I was like, my name is, my name. She's like, no, you're at a Renaissance fair. You're like, you have to dress like you are and blah, blah, blah. And you have to have like a name that goes, and I'm like, I had an injury on Palm Sunday in 2000, right? And she's like, yeah. I said, well, I have to have a name that I can remember. Well, I guess if it's a nobility thing, well, then I guess Lady MeeLing will do. And she was like, okay, fine, but, once we get inside the fair, I can't be seen near you. I was like, why not? She said, oh, because, you're noble. And, like, the rest of them were pirates. And I was like, really? Because if I'm not mistaken, they did get along. Like, there were certain ones that got along back in the day. Duh. And she was just like, whatever, you know, you do whatever you do you think. So I go walking around the Renaissance Fair that I'd never been to before by myself. Anybody watching could probably see this is gonna go wrong real quick. Never have been, no idea about anything on how that stuff goes. I'm walking around by myself. I get lost easily. And so, yeah, okay, so I had big old fairy wings that, you know, were from the store, and then I found a place that had customized wings, and I was like, oh, I want each and every one of these wings, like, all of them, they're mine, but, you know, I gotta be able to, like, take them with me, so. So I could only get one pair, and I was like, well, I want that one, and I want that one, and I want that one, and that one, and that one, and that one, and I told her, I was the female who ran the shop, I'm like, if I could have, like, every single one of these to put on whenever I want, irony, like, I would. I'd do it, I would do it, I want all of them, like, because, like, these, like, if I could explain to you, like, my dreams and stuff like that, you'd be like, oh my God. And so, you know, then I told her about my head injury and stuff like that, and then she was like, oh my God. And I was just like, yeah, so, you know, I really, you know, I want all your wings. Like, I want the whole store as mine. But, like, I know you've got some in your garage that you're working on, and not to creep you out, but I want those too. And she was just like, oh my God. And so I got this pair of red, white, and blue wings that, you know, put them on immediately. It's just like, look at the wings. And so, you know, ran around and just went on through the Renaissance Fair by myself in Bastrop County, Smithville. And so, you know, I'm just walking around. And I had gone and stopped, and I saw the lancing going on with the, you know, the maid stuff, and I'm like, okay, well, you know, whatever, just walking around, seeing what's going on. And then I get to this area where, passed by the Baird, who was playing the music, and whatchamacallit, he was doing his thing. I was like, okay, that's cool. And then, like, there were these two tents, and there was, like, food on one side and meat on the other, and I'm like, hey, I know that. That's cool, but no, I shouldn't have any, but hey. Don't want to see a drunk fairy, and so it's a bad idea. And so didn't realize later, but that was something I learned later. Anyway, so, you know, walk through the two different tents on each side, and then there's the trees, and these guys jump out of the trees. An irony of me wearing a dress like this right now. I mean, it's my, you know, it's not a corset, but, you know, you can get, I guess, a better visual, because, like, though this is like knee length, my dress was to the floor. And so, but it's got the kind of proofies. And so, these 5 guys jump out of the trees, and they've all got weapons in their hands. And as soon as they land, they're all dressed like trolls or whatever. They got their face painted red and blue. They've got tattered clothes, like brown and like dark brown pants, like light tannish shirt, but like dark brown pants, and then their faces and everything are all painted. They got all these weapons and stuff in their hands, and I'm just like, what do you think you're doing? And they were just like, I don't need something of wing sauce. And I'm like, what'd you say? I just got these. Don't you make me take those weapons from you and use them on you. You don't know. You don't know. Like, don't you. And like, they're talking amongst themselves, but like trying to be all threatening, and I'm like, you don't know what I will do to you. You have no idea. Like, don't you come at me. And they've got, one guy's got a sword and he's like, da-da-da. In my head, I'm thinking, you're not even holding that right. Like, what is wrong with you? I will easily take that from you. I'll take that easily from you, boy. Well, I should say it like this. I can take that from you and just like, in one move, I can just easily. My eye just, don't you, I will defend myself. And so then, one of the guys realizes before, it kind of just was like a chain effect. And I was like, you're not speaking in Renaissance talk. And I was like, so? I'm talking like me. Like, I don't understand what the problem is. And the guy was like, but like, doth and this and that. And I'm just like, if you really want me to speak in that time frame, fine. I'm gonna kick it, your ass up it, and beat it, you to death. If you don't stop it, right it, now it. Is that okay? Do you mind, putting your weapons away so I don't have to take them from you and use them on you? And, some of them drop them and they're like, kick the weapons over. I'm like, yeah. You don't know what I will do. I don't need them, but thank you for kicking them closer to me because that boy is not putting that sword down. And so, later he finally gets the memo that, I didn't know what was going on. So I go, finally, I find some people that I recognize and defended her because there was some, person at, okay, maybe I'm a little weird, but if you're at a Renaissance fair and you're complaining about fur, at a Renaissance fair, this is a post-time thought where it's kind of like, do you think that back then they had faux fur? Or do you think that they only had real fur? Back then they also didn't waste so much as far as the body parts of the animals and just all these other things, but that is what it is. But so she threw this temper tantrum. I had to get in front of my friend and I'm just like, you need to chill. Don't and pita. People eat tasty animals? Yeah, I like animals. Like a nice thick steak. I will mess up some pork chops. Tear that up. Eat it right off the bone, you don't even know. And she got all offended. I'm like, you're at a Renaissance fair. Apparently this is different and I'm not understanding, but they didn't have a vegetarian or vegan option back then. I'm just saying. There is a bumper sticker that I got, which is the most ideal. I never put it on one of my cars, but it realistically is absolutely true. If in reference to that time frame, the term vegetarian means bad hunter, because back then, if you only ate vegetables and fruits, that means you didn't know how to hunt. Good, yeah. Or you didn't know how to farm. If you didn't know how to raise animals and stuff like that and take care of goats and you just ate vegetables. Irony how nowadays it's considered a fad or something like that. It's back before technology, you couldn't grow stuff. There were people who ate vegetables, but they ate it with meat. They didn't eat just a salad. They ate steak, turkey leg, friggin' Anyway, so as that situation went the way it did, and then, you know, later on, you know, I get yelled at by Dawn, like she saw me and she just, what do you think you're doing, like, defending yourself? And I'm like, what are you talking about? And she's like, I heard that these males jumped out of a tree and surrounded you with weapons, and you threatened to use their weapons on them. Yep. You threatened to hurt my wings. Yeah. Just saying. I did it. Yep. Are you really going to defend a bunch of males that jumped out of a tree with their weapons to attack me over me? Really? She was like, yes, I am. You are at a Renaissance fair and, you know, you're supposed to act like a lady. Do you think that, like, nobility back in the day didn't know how to handle stuff? I mean, there were plenty who had absolutely no idea. They usually didn't survive. But then there were the ones that, you know, they knew how to handle stuff. And most royalty didn't ever leave their castles without a whole bunch of, yes, they'd have guards, but they also knew how to handle stuff. And so then when that happened, like, then, like, some guy tried to show up and, like, put shackles on him. Nope. Not going to be arrested for, as it's the claim was, falsifying being a fairy. And it's like, I don't think so. I'm not falsifying anything. I can't lie. And then I got convinced to, like, stick my arms out for a picture. And because I knew he was going to lock them, I grabbed him and took off. Ran. I ran. Oh, I ran. I had my fairy wings on, used those for a little bit of lift off, and I was like, whew. And so might have flown a little bit, I don't know. But anyway, took off and ran, hid, get into this dress shop. I lift up the outer part. I already did this, and I stick the things like right here, and, you know, just rearrange the crinoline and dress, and I'm just like, yeah, he won't be able to see that, and all right, you can't hear the jingles. All right, walk outside, light up, well, since it's an e-cigarette, light up a cigarette, and the sheriff, the false one, the not real one, he runs with, like, his whatever, and I'm just like, I'm here. What's going on? By the time, like, he got there, I had already gone through 2 cigarettes because it took them that long to get that distance. I'm just like, every day now. Every day. All right, then. All right. And then he's like, where are the shekels? And blah, blah, blah. And it's like, whatever. So then back in reference to, and I wound up not being arrested because he tried, like, I'm not being falsely arrested. Just saying. I will tattletale on myself before I get arrested. Might get me in trouble, but I'd rather not get in trouble at all. So, you know, later on when Brian, whatever his last name was, put the cuffs on and then threw it, it's like, no, like, I like, get them off me. I didn't know that, like, I could probably have gone to, like, the police officer station and been like, hey, your officer did this, but if you wound up getting fired because somebody else at Jim's, like an undercover police officer, contacted, well, hey, thanks, because I didn't know that I could do that until, like, about now. But, so, yeah, if I got blamed for that and he actually, like, lost the ability to be a San Antonio police officer, it wasn't me. I didn't do it. Because, yeah, I didn't think about that. Not that I would have known which station to ask. Although, now that I realize it, probably the badge number might have been a giveaway. Little late. Little late. So, it was only whatever year Katrina happened, and since I was dating Pam, and it was right before, you know, breaking up with her, because she tried to tell me that the hurricane, Katrina, was President George W. Bush's fault. And we were watching the news. She was crying because the animals were on top of buildings. And my response was, yeah, I mean, I feel bad for the animals, but like, what about the elderly that are in the nursing homes? What about the people who are in the hospitals? What about the police officers and fire department guys who can't leave? What about the prison systems who, you know, those guys are stuck in there? Okay, yeah, they're paying their debt to society, but, you know, that sort of stuff. Like, what about those guys? Like, I mean, yeah, okay, like, not that it's okay, but it's just one of those, like, they're paying their debt to society and stuff like that. What about them? I mean, you know, I mean, seriously. And then the guards who actually watch them. I mean, come on now. And she was like, oh, the animals. And I was like, really? No. And then she was like, oh, but it's President George W. Bush's fault. The hurricane is President George W. Bush's fault. Really? After I listened to her complain saying that supposedly the according to her and a whole bunch of other people, oh, if it wasn't for George W. Bush, 9/11 wouldn't have happened. No, if it wasn't for President George W. Bush at the time, 9/11 would have been much worse because of a multitude of things that you don't understand. Like, he had the right people in place where they needed to be. And you really did not want, like, no offense to the other guy who was running at the time, but he did not need to be president at that time. His choice for vice president, damn sure did not need to be vice president at that time. No offense to those guys, just realistically. And she was like, no, the hurricane is President George W. Bush's fault. Everything is George W. Bush's fault. It's like, no. But, you know, why don't you explain to me why you think it's his fault and not other stuff? And she was like, oh, because President George W. Bush came up with a chemical compound that he can, you know, send the Air Force airplane pilot to go on a suicide mission. And I was like, what type of stuff are you smoking to think that? What is wrong with you? And she was just like, no, like there's this suicide mission where President George W. Bush created this chemical compound, and it fits in a capsule, and it's kind of like this, in my words, not hers, a pill full of magic fairy dust that the airplane goes in the center of the eye of the storm instead of around and over on top of the clouds. And it drives through the hurricane, or flies through the hurricane, flies through to the center, not up and over, just through the hurricane. Never mind, like all the hail and all that sort of stuff in the clouds, and you know, the fact that an airplane's made out of metal. And I'm gonna go through it during a hurricane. I mean, I'm pretty certain there's thunder and lightning during a hurricane, but you know, whatever. You know, go through the hurricane to the center of the eye instead of up and over. to have these mechanical claws open up the capsule full of, again my words, magic little fairy dust that will make the clouds go away. No more hurricane. And because of the magic fairy dust, the airplane disintegrates. And I look at her when she said that, and I was like, so let me understand this correctly. The airplane disintegrates because of the dust? Yes. It destroys the clouds? Yes. Destroys the plane? Yes. And what happens to everybody on the ground? Oh, the plants are fine, but it destroys the airplane. Yes. What are you smoking? No, I'm not. Bath. It destroys the airplane. Yes. And everything like underneath the clouds that disappear, along with the destroyed airplane, everything's okay. Like the oceans, like no problems with the ocean, but it disintegrates the airplane. Yes. Do you know what airplanes are made of? Again, metal going through and over. This seems easier than this. Airplanes and metal, and no, the airplane made out of metal, it goes poof, bye-bye, but everything on the ground's okay. Yes, disintegrates the plane, completely eats up the plane and destroys it. Oh, like how long does that take? She's like, it's instant. Oh, instant. Yes. Right? I don't understand. What do you mean? It disintegrates the airplane immediately. And does nothing. No. People could be outside during the hurricane. I think that you need to stop smoking whatever you're smoking. Or if you're like some stuff, you might want to stop stuff. I think so. Then again, that female was also like really obsessed with like the Patty Vaughn murder thing, and I was like, yeah, Susan, come with me to Lavernia. Why? Why would I do that? Because nobody will notice you. I did have the red hair at that time. So. Yeah, that's red hair. Like, yeah, that's some pretty red hair. Are you sure? No time. I mean, in San Antonio, I get looks. You can go to the radio. Hold on, let me relook at that because I have to. It's really difficult because it's short. But up there it is. Yeah, no, that's pretty red. I don't know. In Lavernia, that looks like I'm not gonna camo. At all. I'm not gonna get. No. Go talk with the store employees. I don't think that I camo, and they okay. Sure. And you think you need? You have a red Toyota Camry? I think that's it's gonna blend in a town that only has trucks everywhere. And then there's that. Huh. I don't know. But yeah, so like she was friends with that guy, and then she defended him before the whole Hurricane Katrina thing happened. But it would be really weird if, like, you know, that Brian was the same Brian as the police officer with, you know, Erica or Discordia. That would just be weird. But, you know, I've said that the internet is bigger than the world for a lot of reasons. Because of, like, I mean, even myself with the amount of accounts, partially because I can't remember stuff, but then, you know, the other thing, issues with technology, and then, you know, yeah. And not to pretend to be anybody else, but, you know, yeah. So, I'm just gonna end this particular video with the irony. So I'm gonna tell this story real quick. My biological mother had gallbladder surgery one year, and she took advantage of the handicap pass. I mean, yeah, she legitimately had this surgery, but every day that we were in Disneyland or Disney World, whichever one's in Florida, multiple times, we had to ride one particular ride. I only got to pick one ride the entire time. And it was like, yeah, I want to go on the log one, Splash Mountain, but I don't want, like, the ride that I get to choose to be, like, enjoyable for me. So I chose Space Mountain, because, like, all the other rides, only what my biological sister wanted, and Mike went with me on that. And so, ironically, he scuba dove, and so, but I'll get to that next week. And so, as you know, I just realized, as a former merchant marine, he might have been on a Navy ship before. Huh, okay. Well, anyway, so, you know, there's that. But, you know, Anna's favorite ride, and in reference to that internet comment I just made, we got stuck on that ride because it broke down, but it's a small world after all. It's a small world after all. It's a small world after all. It's a small, small world. Yeah, hours when that ride broke down.